This is problem number 2 from your lab assignment. We have a function that's defined by e to the x, so something that we know the derivative of it, etc., times g of x, which we don't know, except they give us some information that the function g of x evaluated at 0 is equal to 6, and the derivative of g of x evaluated at 0 is equal to 5. So they want us to find the function, the derivative of the function f prime evaluated at 0. So we begin by first finding the derivative of f of x, and the derivative of f of x is going to be use the product rule. Is going to be the derivative of the first times the second plus the first times the derivative of the second, and so that's the product rule stated here. Now f prime is going to be the derivative of e to the x, which happens to be just e to the x, times g of x, plus the original e to the x. Well, in this particular problem it's kind of silly, but because e to the x, the derivative of e to the x is e to the x itself, we're going to have e to the x in both of these components. But remember that the first one is actually the derivative of e to the x, which happens to be e to the x. Now, if this function was a little bit different, then you'll have something different here. All right, so that's the product rule. And now we want to put in some values of 0 in there. So e to the 0, anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. And so we have the following. So we have e to the 0 times g of 0 and e to the 0 times g prime of 0. And since e to the 0 is equal to 1, then we just have 1 times g of 0 plus 1, there's a 1 here, times g prime of 0. And so now that we have that, we're going to put in the values. G of 0 is equal to 6. G prime of 0 is equal to 5. So we just have 6 plus 5. And that should be it. Okay, hope that helps.